Lizards first emerged around 250 million years ago.
It's alive!
And today, there are over 11,000 different species. But to really know where lizards come from, we have to know where all life on Earth comes from. And pause. Life on Earth didn't come from Earth. It came from here, space. At least that's what scientists think. Probably yes. Billions and billions of years ago, 4.5 billion actually, before there was life on Earth, the Earth looked like this. There was nothing. Okay, that's not true. The Earth looked more like this. It was covered in volcanoes.
Liquid hot magma.
And it rained meteorites. Those meteorites may or may not have contained bacteria. Not all scientists agree. But if it did, then we are all aliens. And that's more fun. So let's roll with that. To understand how it was possible for the first living organisms to survive, we have to understand a little something about what any living thing needs to stay alive. Yeah, kind of. All life on Earth is divided into two groups. Autotrophs, like plants, that can generate their own energy from, like, the sun and stuff. And heterotrophs, like us and animals, that have to eat other stuff. The first organism was likely an autotroph. Let's call him Tom. Tom got his energy from this stuff, all the nasty chemicals and minerals that leaked out of the bottom of the ocean floor. Yuck! Don't be like Tom. Tom didn't need a girlfriend because Tom could do this. Tom could multiply. Now, there were many Toms. Tom paved the way for more organisms, like these guys, anaerobic microbes. See this? This one was a rebel. Let's call him Paul. Paul floated to the surface and invented a neat little trick that paved the way for all other life on Earth. But Paul then also killed all other life on Earth. Paul figured out how to photosynthesize and to use sunlight to turn carbon dioxide and water into oxygen and sugar. Paul also duplicated himself and over the next few 100 million years filled the atmosphere with oxygen. Great, right? Not so great for his old friends. Remember these idiots? Well, they were used to eating chemicals and all the many oxygen that seeped into the air, and water poisoned them. So pop went the weasel, and bam! You're all dead. Almost all other life on Earth died. Great job, Paul! Then the planet was a giant snowball for a few 100 million years. Then the ice melted. Then new organisms formed that could use the air in the atmosphere for energy. Those dudes paved the way for even more complex life forms. Along the way, something else happened. About 600 million years ago, oh look, we have an ozone layer now. Then came a big explosion. No, not the kind that killed everything. That came later. This was the Great Cambrian Explosion. It was an explosion of life. About 20 million years later. Oh look, what's that? Now we have plants. On land. Now there was stuff to eat. Outside the ocean. Hey, but wait. We don't have legs? Oh crap. Okay, so grow some legs maybe? Okay.
A few moments later.
More like another million years later. Now they had legs. We called them tetrapods. Because, well, they have 4 legs. But there was another problem. Now they could go on land to eat, but they had to go back to the water to lay eggs, because their eggs had soft shells and couldn't survive outside. So evolution came up with another plan, hard-shelled eggs. Now we have reptiles and mammals that lived on the land. Yay! Meet Kyle. Hi, Kyle. Kyle was the oldest known species of reptile. Kyle lived about 315 million years ago. Kyle's name is also not Kyle. It's Hylonomus. Then, about 250 million years ago, bam! You're all dead again. The Great Dying happened. Scientists called it this because, well, almost everything died, but they still don't know why. And then enter the Mesozoic era. In the early Triassic period, we find the oldest known lizard. We'll call him Dennis. Here's his real name if you can pronounce it. Take a few seconds. During the Triassic period, there were some lizards around, but not many. But there were also a lot of these guys around. Lizard imposters. They shared a common ancestor and they looked like real lizards. But they were not. But we're lizards. No, we're not. But we shed skin. Still not a lizard. But we have scales. Still not a lizard. But we grow our tails back. Nope, still not a lizard. But when lizards were starting to love life, the planet had a midlife crisis. So the planet started changing, literally. Over the next 100 million years, lizard evolution was stagnant, but their imposter buddies were thriving. But guess who had the last laugh? By the start of the Cretaceous period, which is here, lizards all looked mostly the same. They had short, little, useless legs and hard, bony plates on their bodies. Then they got a kick in the butt and started diversifying rapidly. By mid-Cretaceous, there were hundreds of species. By the late Cretaceous period, around 88 million to 66 million years ago, lizard evolution exploded. Now we have new species like geckos, skinks, iguanas, varanids, and bearded lizards. But not all lizards lived on land. This dude was also a lizard. If you're thinking this dude is the same as this dude, then no. The movie version was an abomination about 3 times the size of the real deal. It was also not a dinosaur. Here's the Statue of Liberty. Here's the mosasaur. Statue of Liberty wins. It was also around this time lizards started evolving superpowers. Think geckos with sticky feet so they can climb things. By now, the imposters were starting to die out. Earth was changing again. By the end of the era, the fake lizards were mostly found only in Patagonia. The real lizards were taking over. But then 66 million years ago, ooh, what's that? Almost all dinosaurs were dead, except for those that could fly, and some mammal species. Somehow, some lizard species miraculously survived. No one really knows how or why. The imposter lizards almost died out completely. Only one species remains today in New Zealand, the tuatara, which in Maori means peaks on back or spiny back. Since the last mass extinction, lizards have evolved into over 11,000 species. Chameleons with camouflage and tails that they can hang off of things. The horny devil lizard, who just wants to... the thorny devil lizard. They drink water through their skin, which is, pretty convenient. Meet Draco. He can fly. Or maybe let's not exaggerate. Draco lizards can slide between trees for up to 160 feet. Still impressive. As recently as 50,000 years ago, there were still mega monsters roaming the earth. Meet Megalani. And yes, this time it's her real name. She reached about 20 feet and weighed about 100 pounds. Here's one average-sized human. Here's another one, and another. Megalania wins. By the time early humans started to develop languages, she was still walking around. The biggest lizard we have today is the mighty Komodo dragon, about half the size of Megalania. I still won't mess with it. There have been cases where Komodos have killed humans, so no thanks. No, yeah, and it has like venom and stuff, and about 50 different kinds of nasty bacteria in its bite. And check this dude out. He shoots poisonous blood out of his eyes just for the fun of it. The golden-tailed gecko from Australia shoots slimy goo from its tail when it feels threatened. And it should feel threatened because, well, it is literally listed as a near-threatened species. Lizard evolution also gave rise to some of the most fascinating creatures on the planet, the anoles. These lizards have over 400 different species. They live in warm climates in the Americas. Anoles have enlarged toe pads to help them climb smooth surfaces. But their real superpower is this thing. It's called a dewlap, and they use it to attract the opposite sex. Beats any pickup line, I'd say. It also helps them identify their own species, because they hate other species. Here's an evil scientist. Here's an anole. Here's another anole. Guess what happened when the evil scientists painted their dewlaps different colors? They wanted to kill each other.
Excellent.
Here's 2 more anoles. They are enemies. Guess what happened when the evil scientists painted their dewlaps the same color? Idiots. The evolutionary story of lizards is far from over. Lizards have an incredible ability to adapt to sudden changes. Those evil scientists did another experiment. They took 1 male and 1 female anole from one island and took them to a new island. The new island was tiny, 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 and there were no other lizards on the island. Year after year, the lizard offspring adapted to thrive in their new environment. In just 4 years, their legs grew shorter and shorter. Silver key anoles on the island of Turks and Caicos have evolved bigger feet and longer front legs to survive severe hurricane conditions. And even long before that, some other evil scientists took some Italian wall lizards from one island to a completely different island. Then they forgot about it. About 30 years later, some other scientists found the lizards again. DNA tests showed they were from the same species, but they looked completely different. The new lizards had bigger heads because they evolved from a meat-only diet to a mostly vegetarian diet. Their new diet also made them less territorial and less aggressive. Urban lizards in cities are also changing from their wild counterparts of the very exact same species. City slickers have longer legs and larger toe pads. They are also faster than the jungle dwellers, and they are better at tolerating heat. Now, ready for some fun and confusing facts?
Why, that's a fabulous idea.
Lizards belong to a group of reptiles known as squamates, the most diverse group of terrestrial vertebrates on the face of the earth. Squamates include both lizards and snakes, and by the way, snakes are actually lizards. Yes, snakes are reptiles and lizards are reptiles, but snakes are also lizards. Don't believe me? Ask this guy. He's an evolutionary biologist and he's got a PhD. You can trust him.
So what do we know about the origins of snakes? Well, we know they're lizards, Ben. That's what we know.
Don't ask how, but somehow snakes evolved to lose their legs to outclass their prey. Doesn't make sense, I know. Boas and pythons still have tiny hind leg bones buried in the muscles near the end of their tails. When snakes realized they made a mistake, they evolved things like fangs and speed and agility. Now they are deadly. Another fun fact, we know all these things are reptiles because they all lay eggs, right? But not all lizards lay eggs. Wait, what? I'll give you a few seconds to pick your brain off the floor and then explain. Viviparous lizards can both lay eggs and give live birth. They do this to adapt to their environments and climates. For example, all gecko species in New Zealand give live birth. Some species of snakes also give live birth, like the ones who still have tiny baby back legs. The evolution of lizards is far from over. Who knows what crazy species we'll see in the future? Maybe we will be around to find out. Or maybe not. But for now, do you mind subscribing to the channel? My pet lizards are counting on it.